Pregnancy is very difficult on a woman who's very sick with chronic illness, okay? Because there's all these other problems. Why do you see one woman have a good pregnancy where it was easier and another woman have a very difficult pregnancy, it was harder? Because of other problems going on, pathogens, Epstein-Barr infections in the reproductive system. Because the immune system is protecting the baby and the reproductive system. So if a woman is sick during her pregnancy, she's chronically ill, there's other problems at hand here. So I know you just want to pass everything off. The woman's pregnant, her hormones are all over the place. It's like, let's not kind of insult everybody. That's something that happens out there. People are saying that out there. She's struggling from so many other different situations. Maybe her adrenals aren't strong and one of them is weakened. Maybe she's got the low-grade viral infections. Maybe she's got the toxic heavy metals. All of that combined, and then being pregnant and having a baby, right? But they'll just blame everything on hormones. So you'll have a mom that's pregnant and she's struggling with her pregnancy and her health, and they'll just blame it all on hormones when, wait a minute, no, that mom has a lot of other problems going on, making it really difficult. They're training millions of young women to believe that everything is hormones. So if they have one problem, it's hormones. Yes, you can have hormones that are imbalanced. I never said you can't have imbalanced hormones. You can. And the adrenals produce a lot of reproductive hormones too, and they produce a lot of hormones. But what happens is, though, there's hundreds of other symptoms, and these hundreds of other symptoms don't play any role with hormones. And that's important to know. So that means hormones aren't causing those symptoms. Because when women become pregnant and they're nauseous all the time, they end up choosing foods that are trying to work with the nausea versus choosing a food that's going to be really good for that early stage of development for the baby. Instead, they're choosing things like anything to break the nausea. They're choosing chocolate loaded with caffeine. That's really bad for the tiny cells that are developing into a fetus. And so what's happening, so they're choosing things that they're trying to calm the nausea down, the morning sickness. So they're just eating gluten-rich toast with butter. They're drinking coffee. Yes, they're eating chocolate. They're just eating pasta and cheese. They're eating chocolate cake. They're just working with the nausea. No judgment, nothing like that. I'm giving you an example of how those early cells of the baby need celery juice. They need sweet potatoes. They need winter squash, kabocha squash. They need beautiful red potatoes. They need blueberries. They need raspberries. They need all of these things. These early cells of the baby that are just developing need all of these foods, but instead, because of the nausea, those foods aren't on the list for a lot of women that get that early nausea with their early pregnancy, and they're just looking for just glue. They're looking for just glue to just kind of calm the nausea down. If you're pregnant, be careful. They don't know this. The number one leading cause, and they don't know this, the number one leading cause of miscarriage is blood testing during pregnancy. That's right. Protect your baby with your life. And you can do like a quarter vial, half vial, and so forth, but protect your baby with your life. When you draw blood from a mommy, your baby can go into mild hemorrhagic shock. This is actually terrifying, absolutely terrifying. First trimester, they draw a lot of blood from a mommy. Second trimester, they draw a lot of blood. Third trimester, they draw a lot of blood. 5 vials, 7 vials, full vials. It should have been quarter vials, and it should have been a lot less. I recommend like 2 quarter vials as a mommy that's pregnant at most. Then maybe wait, give it some time, go in for another 2 quarter vials if it's really needed or necessary. Push your doctors to the limit, and a lot of times they understand and they'll work with you. Very important information. We can just annihilate our immune system in so many different ways. Just caffeine alone is an immune system destroyer. Just like when a mom is on caffeine while pregnant and the baby's immune system gets compromised from that caffeine. But there's an answer to that. Moms have to look out and become aware and not do caffeine on any level. Moms should not be eating chocolate. Chocolate is harmful for the baby. I talked about this for years. You guys might remember, maybe some of you don't, but chocolate is really bad during a pregnancy. I can't tell you how many times over the years, helping out people, all these decades, that I see when someone went on a chocolate binge, they broke out a week later with a simplex, cold sore fever blister. Chocolate binge, fever blister. If they didn't have herpes simplex 1, chocolate binge, simplex 2 if that's what they had. Pustules in the genitals area, right? If they didn't have that, chocolate binge, okay? So chocolate binge, and then a flare for Epstein-Barr. chocolate binge, and then a new bout of mono, chocolate binge, and then an abscess in the tooth. Jaw starts to hurt.
One of the more difficult and sad parts of caffeine addictions is a difficult childbirth. A strong childbirth depends on strong adrenals, and caffeine consumption weakens the adrenals, especially in women. Women need their adrenals strong, rock solid when it comes down to birthing a child. And if their adrenals are in fight or flight all the time, they're drinking caffeine, they're eating chocolate, getting exposed to caffeine that way, then they're always in this fight or flight. Their adrenals start getting numb, and they don't produce enough adrenaline when a real crisis occurs. But not just that. If they're always in fight or flight because of adrenaline being produced by caffeine, then they weaken in general. And then there isn't enough adrenaline in the adrenals for childbirth. Adrenals need a certain storage bank, and they also need the ability for high production when needed in a crisis, like when birthing a child. If adrenals have been beaten down by life, or beaten down by events or struggles, there's already a susceptibility. Then the caffeine use takes it to the next level. And this is how pregnant women find the strength to push a baby out of the uterus and vaginal canal. It's through the use of adrenaline. That push takes large amounts of adrenaline to keep muscles strong and nerves strong. And the adrenaline delivers messages to the brain so the brain can activate every single nerve within every single muscle to gain the strength to propel the baby out. So weakened adrenals that are always being used by caffeine, can be a problem. They may not have that strength needed. So the pregnancy could have been more difficult because of this. There are precious reserves in the adrenals that are specifically for childbirth. Many women end up getting C-sections because their adrenals simply cannot produce the adrenaline needed to enter into the nerves, muscle, and brain to get the push to occur, or to give the woman enough strength to give that push needed.
And there's that. The sunspots all happen. They got to all get the laser techniques. The hormones get all imbalanced, right? So all that is coming out of the adrenals. All that's, all that it's because of the adrenals, because of the caffeine. But so a lot of women suffer from hair thinning, hair loss after pregnancies, even if it's 6 months after childbirth, a year after childbirth, 2 months after childbirth, during childbirth. And because so much adrenaline was used and caffeine was stimulating so much adrenaline, so you get the hair thinning. A lot of people are upset by stretch marks. They feel upset. They feel like betrayed. They work so hard to lose their weight. They work really hard, and then they have the stretch marks. And they're like, wow, I did all this work. I got rid of some excess unwanted pounds, and now I'm dealing with stretch marks. The reason for those stretch marks, obviously, is because you're expanding, right? When you gain weight, we expand. So then we get more tissue growth. If someone gains a few pounds, or 10 pounds, 15 or 20 pounds, and they lose the weight, some people, their stretch marks are a lot worse than some other people. The reason for that is the very base, the landmark I'm talking about that we want to protect and we want to support, that very landmark and base, it's deficient and it's saturated and soaked up with toxins and free radicals that have been there for years, and it's deficient of things that it needs. So that sponge got oversaturated with too much poisons, fight or flight, too many toxins, right here at the base, right here at the bottom, too much adrenaline, and it got damaged. And when that base, that bottom of that derma gets damaged, it doesn't bounce back easy. Elasticity's gone. Collagen weakens. We lose vitality in the bottom of our derma. That's where it starts to really disappear. And if you're dealing with somebody with a stagnant, sluggish liver, which is a big part of it all, because that's saturated with toxins and poisons, it doesn't help. In fact, that's a big deal all on its own. Some people might have a really toxic liver because they're so toxic that the derma got filled up with a lot more toxins and saturated with a lot more adrenaline. And then when they lost the weight, the elasticity is actually gone. They don't have that room to play anymore. It doesn't revitalize easy. It doesn't bounce back quick at all. And then we have the stretch mark. When it comes down to skin repair, it has to start from deep down into the derma. It has to be down deep. We gotta go low. You wanna work on skin and keep skin good. You don't want stretch marks taking over when you gain weight. and then you lose the weight and you lost all the elasticity of the skin, and you got the skin is way too played and it's not bouncing back, and everybody's trying to get the tummy tucks and they're trying to get all the different surgeries and tucks. Your skin won't work with them. Or maybe you just gained a little bit of weight and then you got the stretch marks from a little bit of weight. The way we have to address all of this is always remember, no matter what, that when we're addressing skin, it has to be from the bottom up. It has to be from the ground up. So from the ground up. It can't be surface. It can't even be follicle level. It has to be right at the base, which is what I call the foundation of your skin, deep within the derma, and right under the derma, right under the skin. It's all about immune power. It's all about immune system. Our immune system patrols that area. Our immune system needs antioxidants in that area. Antioxidants are one of the critical builders right there. So what I love about the skin potion, what I'm breastfeeding, if moms are trying to develop enough milk to breastfeed their babies, bananas are a big one right there. And not just one, not just a half a banana, but if a mom is worried about breast milk and wants a full tank of breast milk to go the distance, then it's critical to be doing bananas. Bananas are critical for that. And not just one banana once in a while, not just a banana every other day. Talking about making sure you're doing some bananas, 6, 7 bananas, 8 bananas a day. You want breast milk because bananas really crank up the breast milk. So there's a full tank for the baby. Critical to know right there.